Hello, I'm the Entre Musician, and so are you. My name is Linda Balliro. I'm an associate professor of voice at Berklee College of Music in Boston, Mass. I'm also a private coach, consultant, voice teacher, and the author of Being a Singer, The Art, Craft, and Science. And today I'm here to talk to you about your singing. Have you ever thought about what is singing actually and why do we do it? Most of you who sing, you know that singing connects to a very deep part of you. And that's one of the reasons why we love listening to singers, and we sing ourselves, and very ubiquitous in the world around us today that we hear singing all the time. But have you ever noticed that what is especially interesting, we mark very important occasions always with singing. When someone in your family has a birthday, we sing. Anniversaries, weddings, funerals. Everywhere that something important is happening, we sing. Community events like the Super Bowl. In church, we sing. And important events that happen in the world, like the global pandemic, we sing. This is because singing evolved as a very important part of our ability to function in the world. The voice, along with the amazing hearing system, they evolved together. And they evolved really early in time as part of our survival skills. So the early humans who came into living on the African savanna, they didn't have the tools that they needed to survive. They don't have fur and big claws and teeth like the other animals. And as humans began to evolve, the tool that they had that was the most powerful were the voices. And that's why evolution took over and started evolving our voices to be very complex. They're agile, they're flexible, they're powerful, they're expressive. And the reason they are is so we could communicate with our tribes, find partners, ward off predators, and generally keep our lives going. So that's why singing is a very important part of our DNA. So what does this have to do with you and your singing and your music today? Well, something that's very interesting about knowing this history of the evolution of our very complex voices is that it takes away a little bit of the worry and concern that you might have about your own voice and how you sound. So we all want to sound good, but the most important thing is that you can be authentic and share your message. And that's why we have these voices, so that we can communicate at times of a great deal of importance. When it's important, we need to communicate effectively and well. And that's why you have a voice, and that's why you can share your singing with anyone. So that takes off a little bit of pressure off of you, and it can give you some courage. Courage is something that you need as a musician, as a singer, as anyone who wants to put themselves out there in the world. You have to have a little bit of courage. And you can develop that skill just like every other skill by focusing on why you're singing, what you want to say, what you're trying to do with your music and with your singing. And by knowing that humans have been doing this since the very early days of our evolution. It's part of humanity, who we are. It's part of our DNA to communicate with your voice. So you should be able to enjoy it, and you should have the courage to do what you need to do. So one of the other ways that you can develop your courage is to develop the ability in your voice to stay in your authentic voice. That means you're connecting to your speaking voice. You're not trying to sound like another singer. You want to sound like you. And you develop the ability to sing throughout your range without losing tone quality or without feeling uncomfortable. So you can sing from low to high, and you don't lose anything along the way, or you don't feel miserable along the way. It doesn't cost you anything. So this skill is something that you got to practice. You got to figure it out, because it's not really natural. What's natural to us is staying in our speaking range. So, for example, if you sing some kind of music like Tom Petty, you don't really have to develop your voice in the way I just described, because you sing the kind of music that is about really sounding like your actual conversation. So when you hear Tom Petty sing, it sounds like he's talking to you in his living room, right? That's the kind of music, the kind of style, kind of words that he wrote to communicate with you on that level. But other styles of music like R&B and pop and gospel music, jazz even, requires that we go outside that talking range. And once you go outside the talking range, you're into using the muscles and coordination in your voice in a way that you don't do every day. Not familiar with it. So you've got to figure it out. So there are singers who sort of figure it out on their own, but it takes a little bit of work. And there are singers who go to coaches and voice teachers to get some training to learn how to do it. I'm going to try in these episodes on the Entre Musician podcast, I'm going to try to communicate with you some little tools you can use to help you figure out what you want to do with your voice. So the first one I've been holding in my hand this whole time, and you've probably been wondering why I'm doing that. Well, this is a straw, and it's paper, so it's not going to hurt any animals. You can get them in bamboo or metal. Bamboo and metal, you can put them in the dishwasher, keep it clean. Straw is a very important tool for singers and speakers. Professional singers and speakers use this all the time to keep their voice in shape. So when you sing or vocalize through straw, you are relaxing the air pressure. You're reducing the air pressure. So you relax all the muscles in your throat and in your voice. All you have to do is this. Start low. So you see, I start at the bottom of my voice, go up through your range comfortably, right? Not trying to get some supersonic high note or go into falsetto. You're just trying to sail through a comfortable range and then back down all the way to the bottom. So the purpose of this range exercise is to stretch and relax your voice. And very important to making it stronger, just like you stretch and relax your hamstrings if you want to work out or have strong legs, right? Same thing, same basics principle. You can also do it from the top down. So one thing you might notice about the way I'm doing this is that you can't have any bumps and grinds in the middle. It's got to all be smooth. So mine's pretty smooth. And you also can't have lots of puffs of air like coming out in the middle of your sigh, right? It's got to be even. And if you have a nice even sound going up and down, you're getting a good stretch in a healthy way, in a real way. You shouldn't be feeling anything stretching here. I'm talking about stuff that's happening that you can't feel. Okay, so we're not going up with the sigh. We're not going, right? You don't want to do that. Just nice and easy voice. We're not trying to show off or be a great singer. We're just trying to get a little exercise. So I encourage you to make the straw your friend. Have one around at your piano, your music stand, in the recording studio. After you've been singing a long time, if you're lucky enough these days to have a gig, then after the gig, before the gig, during the gig, you might want to do a few minutes of the straw. You'll be amazed at how fresh it makes you feel and relaxed so that you can do more of what you want to do. So what is it that makes this ability to go up and down throughout your range without feeling uncomfortable or losing tone quality? Well, it's something that you train like a coordination, like riding a bicycle. So you can't do it by thinking about your throat or your voice, right? You can only do it by thinking about what you want to say and how you're saying it. So for example, if I'm singing a song and I want to reach notes, hit notes, it's not going to really work very well because that's not how we sing, right? We don't sing by singing notes, by hitting notes or reaching notes. We sing by communicating. So the more you can focus on what you're saying and how you're saying what you're saying, the better off you'll be. So what does that mean? When we talk, right, we talk words, no matter what language you speak, we say vowels. And when we sing on vowels, right? We hardly ever hold a note on a consonant, except for Frank Sinatra. And if we're holding a note on a vowel, we want to make sure that that vowel is a good one. That's relaxed and it's clear. It's not but it's a kind of a clear sound. Doesn't mean that you always want a clear sound when you sing. It depends on the style. That's something else. But we're just talking about basic function. Can you go up and down feeling comfortable? We'll talk more about style and different styles for different genres later on in another episode. So let me give you an example, okay? So if we take the song Amazing Grace, and we're just going to sing it in a regular way, and I turn my piano off. Let me get back on. Amazing Grace. It's just talking, right? It's just not doing anything. I'm not pushing anything. I'm not trying to sound a certain way. It just sounds like that's the way my voice is. It's in my talking range. If I were to try and do that in some other way that wasn't just my talking voice, I'm going to have trouble when I get to the next couple of phrases because it goes higher. And it also has longer phrases. So if I'm uncomfortable, it's going to be hard for me to be comfortable in the long phrases. Let me give you a couple of the most common examples that I hear every day. You might go, amazing thing. And that's what we call usually breathy voice because it sounds breathy. But what it means actually is that you're interfering with the process. So your voice isn't able to really make the sound that sounds like you because you got a little bit off balance. You got too much going on with muscle and maybe too much air, one or the other. It depends on you and a little bit some things specific to you that you do, but it's either too much air or too much muscle, right? We need to balance the air and muscle. That's what we do when we talk. And what's great is the brain does that for you when you talk because it's been experienced with you talking since you were a baby. It's not so experienced with you singing. So it takes some time for the brain to figure out how are we going to do this. Once it does, you can sing just like talking. Now, let me give you an example of the other one. So I gave you the breathy one. And there's another way that a lot of people sing that doesn't really help them. It's not really effective. And I'm going to have to change the range to show you because that was in my lower voice. That was in my chest voice. If you've heard those words before, so it's my speaking range, right? I'm just like talking. Now, if I go up into the middle of my voice, then I'm in what many people call the bridge. And I'm going to show you a mix right now in a minute. But first, I'm going to show you what a lot of people do that's not a mix. And guys, it would be a different key for you, but it's the same principle. So I'm in my first bridge that's going into my upper voice, not in my upper voice yet. But let me show you what a lot of people do, if I can remember the notes. Amazing! So that's the kind of yelling, right? And so a lot of people want to sound like some celebrity or some of their favorite singers. But you can't do it by trying to sound like them. So a lot of guys I know say, oh, if I could just sing like James Brown, it would be fabulous. Of course, he was fabulous. He wasn't doing that, right? He wasn't reaching for notes. What he's doing was James Brown, and that's his voice and his style. Doesn't mean that you can't sound as great, but you can't get to be your greatness by copying what somebody else is doing. So you can't sing reaching up for the note. You have to still be singing like you're talking so that we get the message of what you're trying to say. And if you sing like you're talking, then we can also get the dynamics and we get the phrasing and all kinds of other cool stuff. And it becomes really easy for you to stylize. So even in your bridge notes, so that's the middle of your voice, for guys, that's going to be, around E, F, F sharp, something around there. And for some of you, it might be a D even. And some of you others might be an A flat. So it depends on your voice. Some of the women, though, more like where I am, it's around B flat, A, B flat, B, C. These are the notes that the women feel like they have to reach for sometimes. Or let go and do the breathy one I showed you a minute ago. So, amazing grace. Yeah, I can do it the same way as I did it in my lower voice. It doesn't matter what the pitch is. So all you have to keep in mind is that you have to sing like you speak. And that's what the Italians said 400 years ago. when they were doing completely different kind of music than we're doing today. But it's the same principle because the anatomy and the way our brain works hasn't changed in 400 years. So we have to go back 4,000 years to talk a little bit about maybe things changing in our anatomy or the way our brain works, but not 400. So we change the music, we change the style, we change what we're trying to say. But the way that brain and body work is the same as it has been since the beginning of time when they started to talk about voices. So when they started to talk about training voices or learning how to sing, that was about the year 1300. So before that time, nobody ever talked about it. But some people decided they needed to figure out why some people could sound great and some other people would have a lot of trouble. And that's when this idea of training voices and learning how to sing evolved. So anyways, giving you a little bit of history today, a lot of history. But I find that knowing some history gives you a deeper understanding of yourself, doesn't it? So that's why I like it. And that's why I think it's helpful for a lot of singers that I work with. It puts us in perspective, you don't get so worried about yourself when you understand where you fit in the greater scheme of things. So that gives you 2 samples of things that you can look out for. Are you singing too breathy? Are you holding back your voice or sending a lot of air? Or are you reaching up and trying to hit notes? You can't do either one. Now, how did I do that when I showed those 2 examples to you? Well, the primary way that I did it was by understanding those vowels. I think I talked about that a little bit a few minutes ago. We sing vowels, right? We don't hold notes on consonants unless you're Frank Sinatra, right? So we're singing a vowel. You just got to make sure that vowel is clear and unencumbered. And you've got to use your hearing system to imagine the sound of that vowel before you sing it. Why is that? Because that's the way our brain works, right? It works from our imagination. If you are in a dangerous situation and you've got to yell out for help, that happens in a nanosecond, that you know the exact volume you need to be and the exact pitch you need to be heard. Your brain knows that. You just need to get out of the way. So if you're focusing on what you're trying to say, you won't be reaching for notes. You'll just be singing it the way you want to. Now, I'm cheating a little bit because I'm making you sound like it's simple. And it's actually easy. It is simple, but it's not easy. So if you're someone who has one of those habits where you sing very breathy or you reach up for the notes, then you're going to have to practice a little while to get it. It's like learning to ride a bicycle. The first time you got on a bicycle, you couldn't ride it. Someone needed to hold on to it, and you need to figure that out. And some of you may have figured it out in a day, and some of you may need to figure it out for weeks. And I know some people who never learned to ride a bicycle. It's not that, it's coordination. So coordination means that you need to figure it out a little bit, practice it, figure out the balance between the air and the muscle. So now, again, if we go back to your music and what you're trying to do with your music, it's important to think about what you want to say and why you're singing, and put these ideas into your music. So what have you written? Have you written a song that's got some notes that are right in your bridge area, those places I told you about for guys, somewhere around D to G, A flat, depending upon your voice type. For women, somewhere around A to C sharp, A to D. So if you've written a song that's in that area, you know you've got to pay attention a little bit and figure it out, or get some coach to help you, or listen to some recordings of some people who sing really well. Who do you admire who's like a vocalist? It may not be exactly your kind of music, but you like their voice, and how are they doing it? And the listening will really help you. So I think that I'm going a little bit over time here today. And so I want to let you go, and I will talk to you on the other side. We're going to talk a little bit more about style and about the things you need to do to get your music out there, to get your singing out there. And we'll probably go over a few more little tips and tricks that might help you get an idea of how you can go up and down in your range without losing tone quality, without feeling uncomfortable, so that you can say everything you want to say in your music. So I'll see you on the other side. I'm the Entre Musician, and so are you.